All right, everybody. I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA, and this is my update for Tuesday, March 9th. So when are we going to see those $1,400 stimulus checks? Well, the good news is the stimulus bill has arrived in the House of Representatives from the Senate and will be considered and voted on the House floor tomorrow. So tomorrow is the day when we will quite likely see $1,400 stimulus checks being passed. That's $1,400 for non-dependents, $1,400 for child dependents, and $1,400 for adult dependents. Tomorrow's the day when we will very likely see the increased child tax credit with the option of taking monthly payments being passed. Tomorrow is the day when we will very likely see extended unemployment being passed. So hopefully, folks, this will all happen tomorrow. I wish that it would happen today, but hey, this is Congress. What can you expect? I don't typically like doing calendars of, okay, here's when you can expect your stimulus check to arrive, because usually such predictions are wrong. But this will be our third go around with stimulus checks. So I think we can kind of maybe map out an optimistic timeline here. So let's assume the bill passes the House tomorrow, which by all accounts, it appears that it will. The biggest naysayers in the House to the Senate bill, if there were any, would have likely been the progressives, because the Senate shaved off some provisions of the House bill, as you know. No more $15 an hour minimum wage. The Senate bill reduces the unemployment boost. It puts tighter income limits on the stimulus checks, etc. But as I told you yesterday, the House progressives sent a letter saying, hey, you know what? We like our version better, the original House version of the bill, but we will support the Senate version. So at this point, it doesn't look like there's anything really stopping the stimulus bill from passing the House tomorrow. After it passes, of course, it will go to President Biden for his signature to become law. Biden said he would sign the bill as soon as he gets it. I would hope that would happen before the end of the week. Let's say Friday, maybe. So let's say the next stimulus becomes law this Friday. When would stimulus checks go out? Well, if we think back to the last round of stimulus payments, that bill was signed into law by former President Trump on Sunday, December 27th, and some people started seeing payments via direct deposit that same week, within days. Now, I don't know the future, but I think it's very possible that could be the case as well with this round of stimulus payments. So if Biden signs it on Friday, the first round of direct deposits could very well hit next week, because the IRS and Treasury, they're already basically assuming that these stimulus payments are going to have to go out, right? It's kind of an assumption that this is going to become law. Keep in mind, however, that right now is peak tax filing season over at the IRS and Treasury, obviously. So the resources may be spread thinner right now than they were back in, late December and January. So, keep that in mind. But my optimistic hope is that this thing gets signed this week and the first round of direct deposits go out next week. But of course, no one knows the future. That all said, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki this morning said that the IRS and Treasury are working tirelessly to get payments out this month. Here's the clip. She also gives some other information that you'll want to see as well.
As the president said last week, once the rescue plan is signed, we'll be able to start getting payments out this month. Treasury and IRS are working tirelessly to make that happen. The IRS and Bureau of the Fiscal Service are building on lessons learned from previous rounds to increase the number of households that will get electronic payments, which are substantially faster than checks. And a number of you, and obviously the American people, have asked a lot of good questions about how this process works, so we thought we'd try to answer some of them. For households who have already filed their income tax return for 2020, the IRS will use that information to determine eligibility and size of payments. For households that haven't yet filed for 2020, the IRS will review records from 2019 to determine eligibility and the size of payment. That includes those who use the non-filer portal for previous rounds of payments, which is a question I think somebody asked sort of about yesterday. For tax returns with direct deposit or bank account information, the IRS will be able to send money electronically. And for those households for which Treasury cannot determine a bank account, paper checks or debit cards will be sent. Of course, we're not taking anything for granted. We're pushing through the finish line here, but you all have asked some really good questions about the implementation that we wanted to get ahead of. So here's what this all means for a typical family of four. With parents making under $150,000 a year combined, and with kids in school age 8 and 5, because of the President's Rescue Plan, that family of four will soon be getting $5,600 in direct payments. And because of the expanded child tax credit, they'll get $2,600 in addition to that. So that's $8,200 more in the pockets of this family as they try to weather this storm. On on top of additional money in this bill to reopen schools safely, get shots in arms, and help those who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own.
So Psaki said they're working to increase the number of households receiving electronic payments, which are obviously faster than paper checks. She clarified that for households who have already filed a 2020 tax return, the IRS will use the information on that 2020 tax return to determine eligibility for stimulus checks and size of payments. I discussed in a previous update the strategy of, hey, if your 2021 income would make you eligible for this round of checks, but not your 2019 income, consider filing your 2020 tax return as soon as possible so the IRS will go off that data. And, right, the converse is true as well. If your 2020 income is too high, maybe hold off on filing it. Psaki said that for households that haven't yet filed, the IRS will review records from 2019. That includes the non-filer portal for previous rounds of payments. So I've seen questions, hey, I used a non-filers tool last year. Will the IRS use that? And as the press secretary just said, yes, the IRS will use that previous non-filers tool data. Obviously, Jen Psaki did not venture to give a specific week when direct deposits would start going out. She seemed to reassure us that, as the president said, the first round of payments will go out by the end of the month, obviously giving them a good deal of leeway, right? Nearly 3 weeks. But I'm hoping that y'all will see your checks earlier than that. A reporter did ask Jen for more specifics later on in the press conference about the timing of the stimulus checks. She was pretty tight-lipped. Here's the clip.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
A few questions for you, but one on the stimulus checks. You were talking about who is getting them. You and the president have both said that they're going to be going out this month, but the last round they went out pretty quickly, I think within a few days. So do you know any more specific timing on when people should expect them?
It's something our Treasury team is working on and working to expedite, of course, and that's a priority to the president. One of the steps they're taking is working to ensure more people can get them electronically, because that, of course, speeds it up. So let me actually just give you, because I have a little bit more detail here, Caitlin, in terms of how it will work. So the first batch of payments will go to all taxpayers who provided direct deposit in their 2019 or 2020 returns, followed by taxpayers who didn't provide that information but for whom the IRS has payment information from other programs. And of course, as the president said, once the bill is passed, we'll be able to start getting these payments out this month. But in terms of more specifics, we're waiting for them to get all their systems in place, and then we'll hope to have an update.
And any update on whether or not he wants his signature on there like former President Trump demanded?
Well, we are doing everything in our power to expedite the payments and not delay them, which is why the president's name will not appear on the memo line of this round of stimulus checks. The checks will be signed by a career official at the Bureau of Fiscal Service. This is not about him. This is about the American people getting relief, almost 160 million of them.
So he did not want his name to appear on the checks?
He didn't think that was a priority or a necessary step. His focus was on getting them out as quickly as possible.
So one more piece of information there is that the first round of payments will go to tax return filers with direct deposit information on their 2019 or 2020 tax returns. Then it sounds to me like second priority are tax return filers who did not put direct deposit information on their tax returns, but the IRS has that information from other sources, such as, for example, Social Security. But notice, both kind of groups that Psaki mentioned in the clip, both times she said taxpayers. So it's kind of sounding to me, unless that was a slip, it's kind of sounding to me that non-filers may be later in line, because she didn't even talk about the timing for non-filers, right? But she did say that hopefully the White House will be able to give us an update after Treasury and the IRS have updated their systems. Psaki also clarified that Joe Biden's name will not be on the checks. All right, folks, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow, which is hopefully the day the House of Representatives passes $1,400 stimulus checks and the rest of the America Rescue Plan. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.